Hi there and welcome. So, are you retired? Are you, well, living in the UK or Ireland? And do you really want sort of like a better lifestyle for your retirement? Well, have you considered Thailand? Well, my name's Chris Dabbs, and today I'm joined by Barry Murphy, who is the founder of Exit UK and Ireland, which many of you retired people will surely find very, very interesting. So join us on this chat as Barry tells us all about everything we need to know. How you doing, Barry? Anyway, you good today?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, living the
You
dream.
are living the dream, aren't you? Because you're in Thailand right now, right?
I'm in Thailand at the moment. I'm not always in Thailand, but I'm here at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Oh, I can't wait to hear exactly how you help out with like retiring somewhere really nice like that, right? Away from the wind and the rain and, and all that stuff that I have to put up with all the time. But yeah, you can let us know about all that later on. But look, let's dive in, okay? So,
Sure.
okay, my first question is, how did you come about this idea, right? How did the concept come up? I mean, what exactly do you do? Let people know what you do.
So, Chris, I meet an awful lot of people here through different channels who come on holidays, and a lot of them don't want to go back. A lot of them are recently retired or about to retire in the next year or two. And I'm asked the same questions over and over and over again. And then I started to realize that people need guidance if they want to relocate here. It's down to visas, accommodation, all cost of living, everything.
Yeah.
So I decided, there's an opening here to help people, um, give them the information that they need, and most importantly, first of all, find out are they suitable to retire here, right? Because there's a lot of people are not suitable to retire here.
Hmm.
Yeah, so, and a lot of people who from the UK at the moment, because of the cost of living and a lot of drama and weather and everything, especially single guys recently retired, they feel a bit lost in the UK. And it's very understandable. And especially when they retire, I met so many people over my time who, they had a kind of a social circle going to work, a rhythm, a routine. And when they retired, it was broken, the social circle as well as the routine. A lot of them have adult kids who are really busy getting on with their own lives and whatever. So they're not happy campers, a lot of them.
Mm. So yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, there's a lot to talk about there because at the end of the day, what you've got is you've got single retired people, say, right? We've got retired
Yeah,
guys who, basically should be living the dream, right? They've worked hard all their lives, yeah. They've now retired, and like you say, I don't think people really get that when you retire, things change. You haven't got that social circle. You haven't got,
well, exactly
yeah,
right. Yeah.
you don't have the routine, and you sort of get up in the morning. I imagine, obviously, I'm not lucky enough yet, but you get up in the morning, and you kind of go, well, okay, what am I going to do now? If you play golf, that's great, but that's not all the time, is it? Right? If you play some sports or you go and watch rugby, football, whatever it is, yeah, fine, but that's not all the time. So no, no, I can imagine. And also going back to what you first said, yeah, people always think, okay, or not always, but people can think, it'd be nice to go to Thailand, right? You go on holiday, you hear that people sort of go there and live. I don't have a clue how to do that. I wouldn't know where to start with visas. I'll just think you rock up and rent a flat, but that's not the case, is it?
No, no, it's not the case. The other thing I'd say there is, a lot of people might have a pension, let's say, a normal, like a police officer or whatever, normal wage pension, which might be whatever, 12 or 1300 quid a month. And they're living kind of tight in the UK, let's supposing they own their own home.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing about it though is that they don't understand that the value of renting out their home, let's say for 1500 quid or 2 grand a month, on top of their pension makes them very wealthy here. Not, I wouldn't say very wealthy, but extremely comfortable,
Yeah.
extremely comfortable. And therefore, they're going from a position of having to watch every cent to not having to watch every cent or even every quid, right? Um, because, if they're getting in 1500 quid to 2 grand a month um, from renting their home in the UK, Um, they're paying here about 600 quid for a really, really good apartment, like real quality apartment.
Mm,
So automatically they're up, let's say, roughly a grand in income,
mm.
let alone the cost of living here difference. So they go from poor, well, not poor, let's not use the word poor, but they go from being careful not to having a care in the world financially.
Wow. Oh my gosh, this sounds really good. No, I see what you mean. Right, exactly. So you've got all the time, you've got your income coming in from your pension that you've worked hard on, right? And then you got a house you can rent out. And so you're making them, and don't forget the council tax. You're saving the money on the council tax as well, right? So, or whatever tax it is that you're paying. And I guess there is the equivalent over in Thailand, but probably less, right? So yeah, okay. So that's the sort of person that you're looking at then, helping, isn't it? Somebody who's retired, somebody who's single, necessarily, I suppose, not necessarily. But
Mostly single. Most people come here are
right,
single, yeah.
well, brilliant. So that's okay. So then there's like-minded people around and all of that sort of stuff as well, right? So how does that work? Well, I mean, why is it? It's Pattaya, isn't it? That's how it's pronounced.
Yeah,
Yes. So why?
Pattaya,
Yeah,
yeah.
with Pattaya sounds really, really sort of popular. I've seen loads of travel things about Pattaya and stuff. But how come there? Why does everyone kind of go there?
Okay, so that's an interesting conversation. So, there are two types of people that come here, right? In general. So, Pattaya is kind of has a very sleazy reputation. Okay, so it's kind of the sex capital of Thailand, right?
Right,
But what people don't realize is that part of Pattaya is the smallest part in the center, let's say 1.5 square kilometers. But outside of that 1.5 square kilometers, like the wider area is really beautiful. I mean, you've Wanggamat up the north, you've East Pattaya, loads of lakes and, a beautiful, beautiful place. So some tourists come here and they're just coming here on sex holidays. Fine. There's 1.5 kilometers there dedicated to you, square kilometers dedicated to you. But the people who live here, I mean, I'm here 9 months. I think I've been in there twice, and that was some friends coming over, just brought them in for a look. So so the sleazy reputation helps because the prices are lower.
right.
But the standard is really high once you go outside that 1.5 square kilometers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's why. And of course, it's next to the coast. It's 2 hours in a private taxi from the airport, which costs you €50. Private taxi collecting, so it's very accessible. It's a really nice area, as I said, outside of that 1.5. And I'm not knocking that 1.5 square
No,
kilometers. The people in there have a job to do, and the people going there, that's fine. I have no issue with that. But they're not the type. The people who settle here for the most part they're never inside there.
right, right. So that's like the red light district, right? So-
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go to Amsterdam, you got the same thing. You go to any like Germany, whatever. There's always a red
It's a
light.
little bit it's a little bit bigger here, Chris.
No, I bet, right? So yeah,
Amsterdam is one street. It's about 6 or 8 blocks square here.
right. Wow. Okay. So it's a very big red light district.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, excellent. Well, that's good then. So then people can understand that it's not just about going into the center of town or wherever, whichever part of the town it's in. It's about looking at the rest of it, right? And having a full life,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
No, no, it makes sense then. So, okay. So talk me through the process then of somebody moving from the UK or Ireland, and well, not necessarily just the UK or
Sure.
Ireland, I suppose.
Sure. So they're coming up with all kinds of different questions, and it's funny because I got this idea from people who have already come here on holidays,
Right.
right? And they're asking me the questions, which led me to think, how many people have never been here but would consider coming here? If they, and a lot of these people might have only ever gone to Spain on 2 weeks holidays, so they're not used to traveling internationally, and there's a fear there, which is very, very understandable.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the very first thing that I do when somebody applies to join our community is I do an hour-long interview with them myself, right, on video. And usually the first half hour of that is to try and figure out what they want, like why are they coming here? You know, if a person has a dependency issue in alcohol, alcohol dependent, or if they think coming over here is going to make it better, it's not.
Okay.
It will make it worse fast.
Mm.
So there are different types of people, or people who think that they're going to come over here and they're going to be with a different woman every night for 20 euro or 30 euro or whatever, the quid, whatever. Yeah, you can do that. Over here, we call them the 2 week millionaires. So they come over with a shitload of cash in their pocket. They blow it in 2 weeks. They have a great time. But living here, you can't be doing that. That won't work long term, right?
Mm.
So I'm trying to figure out, first of all, are they a good fit for their own sake? I mean, if I don't think they're a good fit, I'll tell them straight out. I don't want to be taking fees from anybody if they're not a good fit to be here.
Yeah.
So that's the first half hour of the conversation approximately. And it's very casual. And I have to listen very carefully as well. I mean, you have a guy there who was married for 35 years. His wife died last year, let's say, and he's really lost. So you have to be very empathic. Is that the right
Empathetic,
word?
that's the one.
Thank you very much. Well, we Irish really appreciate you English teaching us English. We appreciate it.
Oh, don't say that. No, 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 no. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but you have to be very considerate of their circumstances. I mean, I had a guy last week, and he was saying to me, the one thing, like obviously the loss of his wife and everything, but like what he missed the most was the fact, like in 14 months, for the first time in his life, he didn't actually touch another human being. And he said that is so important, and I get that. Like, it's a lot of the guys coming over here to relocate are not coming here for, actually, most of them for relocating are not coming here for sex. Like,
Right.
that's not the reason they're coming. The lads coming on holidays, yeah, but not the guys who are seriously thinking of relocating here. They want something much more stable and, yeah, yeah. So then once I figure out if they're a good fit, I take it to the second part, which is what kind of lifestyle do you want here? I mean, the different areas around here that you can live. Do you want to live? There's 28 golf courses, for example, around here. Do you want to live out towards the lake? Do you want to live in Wongamat, Prattenlack, different areas? And depending on what type of lifestyle, we try and figure out where's the best place for them to
Mm.
live. Then we have visa issues, not issues, well, yeah, that need to be dealt with. Which is the best visa for you? Usually it's a retirement visa, and that is a process that has to be gone through. And there's the right way and the wrong way of going about that. So we help go through that part of the process. And going back to accommodation for a second, we give them two options, right? So one is you come here, we'll find you someplace that we know for a month or two, and then you can take a look around and then decide where you want to settle, which is fine. But the other option then is we actually take out a year contract for you on a condo before you arrive. Now, the thing about the property thing over here is there are multiple estate agents like everywhere, but here all of them have the same properties, right? And while you can go on a property website and you'll see 1,000 listings, it's very weird here. 700 of them probably don't exist, and they're just showing them to bring people to the website.
Yeah.
So you can imagine looking at a website where 70% of the properties don't exist. Then the other 30% that do exist are substandard, um, because they're there. What I'm trying to say is the real good properties, we have such a relationship with the estate agents. We get notifications a month before they come free and say, Barry, watch this. That's a serious condo for one of your members. And if we like it, we, on behalf of the member, will drop a deposit there and then to hold it.
Mm.
Um, because they don't last, like good properties, they don't last an hour here,
No.
an hour.
Well, no.
So yeah,
So
so we can do it one way or the other. Go
that's
on,
no,
sorry.
no. I was going to say that's so brilliant. And I think the reason why probably they don't last that long is because it's not just people from the UK or Ireland who are sort of like competing for that market, is there?
Exactly right, Chris. So there you go. So an awful lot of these condos over here are 30 square meters, 35 square meters shoe boxes, right?
Mm.
And the reason for that is exactly what you said. They have the South Korean market, the Chinese market, and all of these people are used to living in very small spaces. And a lot, I would say, geez, I would say 90% of the properties here are that type of property. And they're no good for people coming from the US, or sorry, from the UK or Ireland,
Mm.
because we're used to bigger spaces and we need them, right? So there, that's a huge element of it.
Mm.
The properties here are not, most of them are not suitable for Irish or UK people. And that's why when you get to the good ones that have, like, we have a limit, a minimum limit of 50 square meters. We will not take on a property that's less than 50 square meters. And of course, you can also get villas for much the same money, but you're going to be a half an hour out of the centre. And a lot of people are fine with that,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're no more expensive. And you can get a really nice 2 or 3 bedroom villa for, 600, 700 quid a month.
yeah. I'm moving. I'm coming.
Yeah. Yeah. So it depends again, going back, but the accommodation is very tricky
Yeah.
here. I mean, really tricky how and it all boils down to the relationship you have with established estate agents.
Yeah, that makes sense. So actually, I think that's a really good service that you're offering there because you don't want to be moving if you, as you say, right? If you're not someone who's
Yeah.
used to going around all the time, you don't want to
Yeah.
sort of say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go and live in Thailand, but I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't know what I'm going to do." That's a big step, isn't it? And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
with you helping to relocate and sorting out those properties as well, I think that's great, right? That would really put my mind.
Well, yeah, it's a huge help.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, just to tell you how crazy it is here, I'm actually moving myself in 10 days' time. And I've been so busy that I haven't had time to find an apartment for myself. But I do have the contacts. I'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, just to go forward from that, right? So the accommodation is one issue. The visas, we go through all of that. And then, so when I figure out the kind of direction somebody wants to go, I put all that together. And then Boa, she's from Thai, she's an event manager and a tour guide and she was in the media as well, the same as yourself for a while. She's very efficient, very personable. So I hand everything over to her,
Right.
all the information. She contacts the client then, and she goes through and starts organizing all the details of the relocation and gets as much of it done as possible before they even get here. And then she will personally meet them at the airport, and they will know her because they'll have been on a video call with her after me.
Yeah.
And then when they get here, we do things like getting them and small stuff like getting them a SIM card, downloading Bolt, Grab, taxis, all that type of stuff. Show them around. So they get two days tour guiding by BOA all around the area. Show them the supermarkets and all that kind of stuff. Bring them to the visa office and all those type of things that need to be sorted. And then bring them. We have a place here where we kind of socialize and they'll be brought into our social circle so that they have a social circle to mix with. Um, yeah, and so they're pretty well set up after 2 or 3 days.
So,
Yeah,
it's,
and they're,
yeah, yeah, it sounds great. So Boa actually just like is someone who can speak Thai as well, right? So that's useful
oh yeah,
without going, obviously, because Thai is quite an interesting language, right? So you're not going to pick that up very quickly, I wouldn't have thought. So yeah, having somebody there who knows the system, can talk to the local people that you need to talk to, can deal with the
exactly.
government, right, as well.
Yeah, exactly,
Wow.
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
excellent.
And she's great fun. She's very personable, and extremely efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
yeah,
that's good. So there's you and Boa so far. So that's fantastic then. So
yeah,
okay. So we can deal with all of like the admin side of things. Okay. So finding the property, sorting out your SIM card, getting you sort of into the social thing and everything else. But what about the personal side? Because you mentioned about that guy who's his wife had gone like 14 months
yeah,
before. I mean, tell us a bit about how people sort of meet other people dating, I guess, in Thailand for, the decent, mature, retired guy that you're talking about.
yeah. So that's very interesting, right? So YouTube is it's so powerful these days, and there's a whole lot of guys putting up content on Pattaya and Thailand on YouTube. And all of the content that I've seen is about fellas who got ripped off by bar girls and all negative stories. I lost my house, I lost my this, I lost my that. The first thing to say is there is less than 0.5 of a percent of Thai ladies working in the adult industry. Less than zero point 0.5, right? So most of the foreigners who come here, they see that because that's where they go. And they have, without thinking about it, they have this in their mind that this is how Thai ladies are. This is not how Thai ladies are. That's zero point 0.5. And I'm not judging them, by the way.
Hmm.
I'm not judging that 0.5%. Each to their own. I've no problem whatsoever with it, right? They're there to do a job and they have customers and, fine. But from a relationship perspective, it doesn't really work because in most cases, these girls have their independence. Even like, so they're working in bars, they have their friends there, they're working there for years. They have a social life with their friends, their colleagues, and you take them and you put them in an apartment to go and live with you. And after 3 days, they're bored, or 3 weeks, and they want to go back to work. So it's not, it's not that I'm judging them whatsoever. But if we want to talk about the other 99.5% of Thai ladies, they're fantastic partners, like for the most part. They're completely different, and I'm not running down anybody from the UK or Ireland, but just have a different mentality. They will look after a guy like you've never seen before. And most of these guys are really happy to look after them as well, right? So you get a girl who's 40 years of age, let's say. A lot of them have had kids young. Her son, let's say, is 22 years of age. He's flown the nest. She's working in some job 60 hours a week for shit money in our terms.
Yeah.
She meets a Western guy, and after a few months, the Western guy wants more company because she's gone at 6 in the morning and not back till 8 o'clock in the evening and she's wrecked, right? So after dating for a few months, the next thing he turns around and says, listen, pack up that job. Once the two of them are sure they're comfortable with each other, pack up that job. I'll replace your salary, which like might be 400 or 500 euros a month. Like, and then he has a partner, they can go traveling together, they're free to go do things together. And it works out really well. As I said, there's a million stories on YouTube about Thai women. Like the reason there's not a million positive stories, and there are, believe me, or 2 million or 10 million, people are too busy living their happy lives than to be going onto YouTube
Yeah.
talking shite. They just want to get on with
Yeah.
life. The only ones that are on YouTube are the stories that are on YouTube are the negative ones.
That's news
The
though,
positive
Barry,
ones,
right? That's news.
sorry?
That's news. That's what people want to see. They want to see all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
drama. But no, you're talking about some really good stuff there. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
yeah, yeah. No, so that's really important. And we've a couple of friends, we've a good few friends here, um, all around the same age, in the 40 age category, let's say, who are working hard, who would really appreciate a decent guy, no mind. Which is another thing when I'm interviewing people at the start, I'm trying to figure out are they like half decent guys, because we don't want to be putting a girl in harm's way, introducing her to, you know. So we have a big network of decent girls who would be delighted to meet a decent guy. The age difference, like 60, 62 to 40, they don't care about that. They have no problem with that. And the other thing is, Thai guys, they have no interest in girls over 30, 35 years of age. Like, and these 40-year-old Thai women are like they're good looking, attractive girls. And they make fantastic partners. All they want is a stable, loving relationship. They're not materialistic for the most part. If they have a nice home, a nice guy, they are happy.
And that's all we can ask for, right? That's all anyone wants.
Yeah, well, yeah, well,
Well, okay, all
well,
right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
depends on the part of the world.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. So, talking about that, then, I mean, we're talking about decent guys here, coming over and living a decent life, right? So, what if it's, you mentioned it earlier, I think, really, but what sort of people is Thailand not suitable for? So, give us some stories about people who you've spoken to and said, no, absolutely. Do you know what? This isn't going to work for you.
So as I said, dependency is one thing. If you're an alcoholic in the UK, you're going to be twice as bad here because booze is so cheap and it's everywhere. And, you walk down Soya which is dead in the centre, 12 o'clock in the day, and you see guys there drinking 50 cents bottles of beer at 12 o'clock in the day, there till 12 o'clock, soulless staring into space.
Mm.
You feel very sorry for them. It's like it is what it is. Um, yeah, so dependency issues is not good. They're not going to go away when you come here. The other thing I would say is like finances, right? So we have on the website that a person needs 2,700 quid a month to live decently here, right?
Yeah.
You have no business coming over here with 1,500 quid a month. Many do, but you shouldn't because for a couple of reasons. Especially if you think you're going to have a relationship, because for 1,500 quid, you will survive yourself,
Mm.
but you will not have the finances to look after a second person. Um, and for sure properly. And I don't mean, I'm not talking about, Louis Vuitton handbags now. I'm talking about normal living.
Mm.
Um, so, yeah. And the other thing is, you, the health service over here is fantastic. The private health service, unbelievable. But you do need health insurance, right?
Mm.
And a lot of these guys with 1,500 quid, they can't afford health insurance, even though it's roughly about 300 quid a month. But 300 quid out of 1,500 is pushing them, right?
Yeah.
Um, so they have better healthcare at home in the NHS. Um, you know, uh, so yeah, it just doesn't work. So money is another factor, and there's an even more important factor, which is, to put it basically, if you're an asshole at home, you're going to be an asshole here too, right?
That's true.
Straight
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
So if you're one of these people that can't accept people with different opinions without getting angry and causing drama and loudmouthed,
yeah.
there's a chance you won't get on here just like you didn't get on at home.
Do you know what? That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, you
Yeah, yeah,
can't just. I love the way you put that. You can't just go from one place to another and hope that you're going to be any different, right?
yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's true. That's true. So, okay, so we've talked about, hobbies, we've talked about social circle, which sounds really great, right? And we've talked about
yeah,
everything, right? That we have something to do with. But what about the weather then? Because people do, they hope that it's going to be lovely and all the time, right? But what about the high and the low season of the weather or the high and low season of tourism? What sort of thing
yeah.
affects it?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is it is extremely warm here at certain times of the year. It's warm all the time, but it gets extremely warm for certain small periods of time.
Mm.
Um, People who come over here after a month or so, they do climatize to the weather. The first couple of weeks can be hard. They're sweating, profusely all the time and whatever. But they do climatize. And of course, the other thing is they plan their day around the weather, right? So if they want to do outdoor sports like playing golf, they do it early in the morning. Uh, the middle of the day, they just get into a routine that suits them. They'll stay in air-conditioned places in the middle of the day, the afternoon. And that doesn't mean staying at home. You go to the shopping mall, I often go in the afternoon to a golf simulator that's air conditioned and whack balls inside there. So there are many things to do, that you go. So you just kind of change your routine around that. The high and the low season, we're just coming out of the high season now. The benefit of the high season is the weather is drier, it's a little bit cooler. Um, but anybody living here will tell you they prefer the low season, believe it or not. And the reason, like they talk about the low season, the rainy season, but the rainy season last year, I think we had about 30 days of rain. But in each case, in I'd say 28 out of those 30 days of rain, um, the rain was an hour long. Like,
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's not like 30 rainy days, or what? No, 28 of them were for an hour.
yeah.
I think I remember talking to my dad, he's 91 at home, and I remember saying to him, Jesus, Dad, today is an Irish day. And he said, I said, it's piss and rain all day. And that was only once, in the last 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
April, the weather gets hot and humid, really hot. Like it can get very hot. But again, it's like in the UK, what's the winter like? Oh, it can get down to -5. Yeah, it can get down to -5. But what? For 10 days, 15 days a year? That's it. Yeah, so people prefer the low season, and also things are cheaper in the low season, right? So there's not as many tourists, there's not as much traffic, it's much easier to get around. Yeah, so there's like people who are used to living here, they actually prefer the low season. And there's nothing wrong with the high season either, but you're better off staying well out of the center in the high season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's going to be so busy, right? So, I mean, yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. All right, excellent. Well, listen, Barry, we're really kind of running out of time, but tell us a bit more. What have we not talked about that people actually sort of like really ask questions about that we haven't covered? I can't imagine there's much, but there must be.
I think this is more about, you know, offering people a better life, right? Figuring out if they're suitable to relocate to Thailand. And I tell you honestly, the amount of people that have moved over here, found very good relationships and a proper, decent, very decent lifestyle from the UK and Ireland, they will never ever go back.
Mm,
That's the reality.
mm,
They'll go back to visit family once or twice a year or whatever, but relocating is not an option. And it's like you could make money several ways, right? You could be a weapons manufacturer. I don't want that money. But when you're making a few quid from helping people who can be lonely or whatever, like whatever their circumstances, to lead a much better life and see them with a decent partner, happy, settled. I mean, do you know, it's the few quid you make out of it, it would never compensate like on its own, if you know what I mean. But to see people happy and to see that they came out of that situation where they were seriously depressed or in, not in a good space, and to see them shining and flying through life and really enjoying it, just to see the change in their face, their attitude. A lot of them have adult kids who are really happy for them that they're enjoying life. I mean, an adult child doesn't want to be thinking of their father sitting inside in some damp house or something,
mm,
and they love to see their parents enjoying life, whatever way. So yeah, I mean, for people that it's the right fit,
mm.
and I've traveled the world. I mean, I've been down in South America. I've been all over the place. I came back here because this is definitely the best place, in my opinion, to retire for a single retired guy who is a decent guy, as we spoke of, and has the means to live a respectable, comfortable life for himself and a partner. This is the way to go from all my experience.
Mm.
That's all I have to say.
And you know what, Barry? I don't think you could have said any more. I think that's perfect, right? Because at the end of the day, that's all we want to do is to have like a simple life, but is that we're comfortable in, right? And I
Yeah.
think that, yeah, I think this is a really good thing that you offer. And I think that you've got the right attitude for that as well, because like you say, it's about really helping people, isn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh man, it's
Yeah.
brilliant. Well, Barry, so far it's been fantastic talking to you today. And I think that honestly, it's something that I'll certainly be talking to other people about when we all talk about relocating, because it's too easy to think about just trying to go to the south of Spain, right? Or anywhere else like that.
Yeah.
And if you're Irish, that's pretty easy for you, right? Let's be fair. But if you're British, then it's a bit more difficult after Brexit. So it's not something.
Well, there's another thing, Chris, like
Mm,
the south of Spain or Portugal or any of them places. Like I've checked. I actually lived in Spain for 10 years. So, but recently I have a lot of friends there. But I can tell you, you're not getting any kind of decent apartment over there at the moment for less than 2 grand a month.
no, of course, of course.
I mean, my lunch every day in a Western restaurant, which also does Thai food, 2 minutes walk from here, and it cost me 3 quid, and it's beautiful. Like, so Spain is not an option for not a lot of people. You need a lot of money to live in Spain.
Yeah, yeah, you do because, well, yeah, the cost of living is pretty much the same, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right. So,
yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah,
exactly. So, okay, I think that people should really get in touch, and if they're really serious about, thinking about it, even then, yeah, Barry, they need to talk to you, don't they? Right. So,
yeah. Look, we make it as seamless as possible, right? So people who aren't used to traveling have nothing to fear. When they land here, we're there to meet them. We hold their hand from the time they make the decision right to the time they're settled in. So, yeah, we make it very easy for people. There's no need to have any fear relocating here with our assistance.
exactly. Well, Barry Murphy, I think people get in touch with Exit UK and Ireland and really find out about everything that you need to know about moving to Thailand. And you know what? Enjoying your own life, giving yourself a second chance, and basically just enjoying the rest of your life, right? And why not?
Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly, Barry.
Exactly.
Well, listen, it's been a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to talking to you again sometime.
Cheers, Chris. Thanks a
Thanks.
million.
Have a good day. Cheers.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.